The shelves will not always be full. That is not a theory, that is history. Every war, every collapse, every disaster, the people who survived were not the strongest. They were the most prepared. Right now, global tensions are at their highest point since the Cold War. Supply chains are fracturing, inflation is dismantling household budgets, and governments are quietly building strategic food reserves while telling you nothing is wrong. This video is not about fear for fear's sake. This is a blueprint. 14 foods ranked by shelf life, caloric density, and real-world survival value. Stay until number 1. It is the one food that has kept entire civilizations alive during the worst collapses in recorded history. Number 14. Honey. Most people think of honey as a condiment. Survivors think of it as liquid gold. Here is what the history books confirm. Archaeologists found honey inside Egyptian tombs over 3,000 years old, and it was still edible. No refrigeration, no preservatives, no expiration. Honey does not spoil because of 2 reasons: low moisture content and high acidity. Bacteria cannot survive in it, which means in a post-grid world, honey becomes medicine as much as food. Raw honey has been used for centuries to treat infected wounds, creating a barrier that prevents bacterial growth. In a collapse scenario where pharmacies are looted and antibiotics are gone, that matters enormously. 1 pound of honey contains roughly 1,400 calories, and in a survival situation, calories are currency. Store raw, unfiltered honey in sealed glass jars, keep it away from direct sunlight, and never refrigerate it or expose it to water. The next food on this list has a shelf life nearly as impressive, but its real power lies in what it does to your body under physical stress. Number 13. Salt. Salt is not a food people panic by, and that is exactly why it will vanish first. Before refrigeration existed, salt was the only way humans preserved meat. Salt was so valuable in ancient Rome that soldiers were paid in it. The word salary comes from the Latin word for salt. In a survival scenario, salt becomes a multi-purpose critical resource. It preserves food, maintains electrolyte balance, and prevents hyponatremia, which is a life-threatening drop in sodium levels that causes seizures and organ failure. During prolonged physical exertion, digging, carrying, moving on foot, your body loses sodium rapidly, and without replenishment, your muscles stop working, your thinking clouds, and you become a liability. Iodized table salt stored in airtight containers lasts indefinitely. A single 25-pound bag costs under $15 today, and in a resource-scarce environment, it will be worth 10 times that. Stock it, trade it, and use it to keep meat from rotting without electricity. Speaking of preserving food without electricity, the next item on this list does exactly that, and it is something you can grow yourself in any space. Number 12. Dried beans. Dried beans are one of the most calorie-dense, nutrient-rich, shelf-stable foods available to any household. A single pound of dried black beans contains approximately 1,500 calories, packed with protein, iron, magnesium, and fiber. The United States military has known this for centuries. Beans were a staple of every major military campaign in American history, from the Revolutionary War through both World Wars. Properly sealed in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, dried beans last between 25 and 30 years. You are not buying food, you are buying decades of insurance. Varieties to prioritize include black beans, pinto beans, navy beans, kidney beans, and lentils, with lentils in particular cooking faster, requiring less fuel, and being among the most digestible legumes available. The one catch with beans is water, since they require soaking and boiling, which means you need a reliable water source and a heat method. But here is the point. A 50-pound bucket of mixed dried beans bought today for under $30 could sustain a person for 2 full months on partial rations. That is not prepping, that is math. The next food on this list is even more calorie-dense, and it requires almost no preparation at all. Number 11. Peanut butter.
Calorie for calorie, peanut butter is one of the most efficient survival foods ever produced. 2 tablespoons contain 190 calories, 8 grams of protein, and 16 grams of fat. In an energy-restricted scenario, dietary fat is essential. Fat fuels the brain, regulates body temperature, and absorbs fat-soluble vitamins, including A, D, E, and K. Without adequate fat intake, cognitive function degrades rapidly. Commercial peanut butter in an unopened jar lasts 1 to 2 years at room temperature. Natural peanut butter stored cool and sealed extends to 2 to 3 years, and powdered peanut butter in sealed containers pushes 5 years or more. Here is what makes peanut butter uniquely valuable. It requires no cooking, no water, and no preparation. Open the jar, eat, done. In a scenario where your stove is gone and your utilities are cut, that matters more than almost anything else. The United States military has long included peanut butter variants in combat rations, and FEMA recommends it as a core pantry staple. Do not underestimate it because it is ordinary. The most reliable survival tools usually are. Next on the list is something most people throw away every week without realizing it could be the most critical item in their entire stockpile.
Number 10. White rice. White rice is the single most important caloric staple in human history. More than half of the global population depends on it as their primary food source. And in Japan, South Korea, China, India, and Southeast Asia, entire civilizations were built on rice. 1 cup of uncooked white rice yields approximately 675 calories when cooked, and a 50-pound bag contains roughly 90,000 calories. At a consumption rate of 2,000 calories per day, that is 45 days of baseline energy for one adult. Unlike brown rice, which contains oils that cause rancidity, white rice stores for 25 to 30 years in sealed, oxygen-free containers using mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, and 5-gallon food-grade buckets. Rice pairs with beans to form a complete protein because beans lack certain amino acids that rice fills. Together, they replicate the protein profile of meat, which is not coincidence. This is why rice and beans have sustained populations through every famine on record. Buy 50-pound bags, repackage them, label them with the date, and stack them in a cool, dark location. And if you think rice is simple, the next item on this list is simpler, older, and may be the single most underestimated survival food in modern history.
Number 9. Oats. Rolled oats have fueled armies, explorers, and famine survivors for thousands of years. Scottish Highlanders carried oats on military campaigns in pouches worn around their waist, mixing raw oats with cold water and eating them on the march. No fire, no tools, no delay. 1 pound of rolled oats contains approximately 1,700 calories, rich in complex carbohydrates, soluble fiber, and B vitamins. They digest slowly, which means sustained energy without crashes. And in a high-stress survival scenario, blood sugar stability is not a luxury. It is a tactical advantage. Rolled oats stored in sealed mylar bags with oxygen absorbers last 30 or more years, and a 30-pound container costs under $25. No other food at this price point delivers this combination of shelf life, nutrition, and versatility. They require only water and can be eaten without cooking in a pinch. But the next item on this list is the one food that actually gets better the longer you store it, and it is something you can make at home.
Number 8. Coconut oil. Coconut oil is one of the most calorie-dense, shelf-stable fats available to any household, and almost nobody is stockpiling it deliberately. 1 tablespoon contains 120 calories of pure fat, and unlike most cooking oils, virgin coconut oil, stored in a sealed container at room temperature, lasts 2 to 5 years without going rancid. In a survival scenario where caloric intake drops and cooking fuel is limited, fat becomes the most efficient energy source available, containing more than twice the calories per gram of carbohydrates or protein. Coconut oil has a high smoke point, which means it handles high-heat cooking over open flame without breaking down into toxic compounds. Beyond cooking, it functions as a skin and wound barrier in the absence of pharmaceutical products, preventing moisture loss and protecting abrasions from infection.
A 1-gallon bucket of virgin coconut oil costs under $30, contains over 30,000 calories, and requires 0 refrigeration. No other cooking fat at this price point delivers this combination of caloric density, shelf life, and versatility. The next item on this list is something families with children cannot afford to ignore.
Number 7. Canned fish. Protein is the structural material of the human body, and without it, your muscles waste, your immune system collapses, and wound healing stops. In a scenario where fresh meat is unavailable and refrigeration is gone, canned fish becomes the most accessible, high-quality protein source available. Canned tuna, salmon, sardines, and mackerel are each shelf-stable for 3 to 5 years under standard conditions, with sardines in olive oil documented to remain safe and nutritionally viable beyond 10 years when stored in cool, dark conditions. But here's what most people miss. Canned sardines and mackerel are loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, vitamin B12, and iodine, the exact micronutrients most people become deficient in during crisis situations. Omega-3 deficiency impairs brain function, vitamin D deficiency crushes immune response, and B12 deficiency causes irreversible neurological damage. A case of 48 canned sardine tins costs under $40. 48 servings of complete protein and critical micronutrients, no refrigeration required, ready to eat immediately. The next item is similar in protein value but has a shelf life that makes canned fish look temporary.
Number 6. Freeze-dried meat. Freeze-dried meat is not a prepper gimmick. It is the same technology used by NASA to feed astronauts and by the United States military to provision special operations units in remote theaters. The freeze-drying process removes 98% of moisture from meat without applying heat, preserving nutritional content, flavor, and structural integrity. Freeze-dried chicken, beef, and pork stored in sealed cans have confirmed shelf lives of 25 to 30 years. In taste tests conducted under blind conditions, people consistently rated properly freeze-dried meat as close to fresh when rehydrated. The catch is cost. A single can of freeze-dried beef can run $40 to $60, but calculate the math differently. That can may contain 20 to 30 servings of complete protein, and over a 30-year shelf life, the cost per serving is less than $2. That is not expensive. That is catastrophic insurance at a bargain price. Brands like Mountain House, Augustin Farms, and ReadyWise have been supplying military and emergency management contracts for decades. Buy a few cans now. The next item costs almost nothing by comparison, and it may save your life more directly than any food on this list.
Number 5. Powdered milk. Powdered milk is one of the most nutritionally complete, shelf-stable foods ever developed, and it is almost always overlooked by people building emergency food supplies. A single cup of reconstituted powdered milk delivers calcium, protein, vitamin D, vitamin B12, potassium, and phosphorus, the exact nutritional profile that collapses first when fresh food disappears. For families with infants and young children, powdered milk is not optional. It is critical infrastructure, but its value extends far beyond children. In any prolonged crisis scenario, calcium deficiency causes bone density loss within weeks, muscle cramps, and cardiac irregularities. Most shelf-stable survival diets are severely calcium deficient, and powdered milk is the simplest solution available. Non-fat dry milk stored in sealed, oxygen-free containers lasts 20 to 25 years. A 50-pound bucket costs under $60 and contains hundreds of servings. It mixes with water instantly, requires no cooking, and can be added to rice, oats, and beans to dramatically improve their nutritional profile. The next item on this list is one that most people would never think to stockpile, but history proves it belongs here.
Number 4. Dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is one of the most powerful survival foods almost nobody stockpiles, and that mistake could matter during a real crisis. A single 100-gram bar of 70% or higher dark chocolate contains around 600 calories, along with magnesium, iron, zinc, and small amounts of caffeine and theobromine that help improve focus and reduce fatigue. In survival situations where stress and morale collapse quickly, dark chocolate does something most foods cannot. It boosts morale. Studies on soldiers in extreme environments show that small comfort foods help reduce psychological breakdown and improve decision-making under pressure. It also provides magnesium, which helps prevent muscle cramps and supports heart function during high stress. Properly stored dark chocolate with 70% cacao can last 2 to 5 years without refrigeration. Keep it in a cool, dark place and store it in bulk. Because when day 30 of a crisis arrives and everything feels like it's falling apart, something this simple can make a bigger difference than you expect.
Number 3. Beef jerky. Beef jerky is one of the oldest preserved foods in human history and one of the most efficient protein sources you can store. The drying and salting process removes almost all moisture, which prevents bacterial growth and allows jerky to last 1 to 2 years in commercial packaging, and even longer when vacuum sealed and stored in cool, dark conditions. Just 1 ounce of beef jerky contains around 116 calories and 9 grams of complete protein, the kind of dense, portable nutrition soldiers, hunters, and explorers have relied on for centuries. During the American westward expansion, jerked beef was standard trail food because it required no refrigeration, no cooking, and no preparation. Native American tribes also depended on dried meat to survive long winters and food shortages. In a modern crisis, jerky becomes especially valuable because it solves the protein gap that appears within weeks of living on shelf-stable foods. Without enough protein, the body begins losing muscle, strength drops, and the immune system weakens. Commercial jerky is easy to store and widely available. You can also make your own using a dehydrator and lean cuts of meat.
Number 2. Instant coffee and tea. This is the item on this list some people will laugh at until day 14 of a real crisis. Instant coffee and tea are not luxuries. In a survival situation, they are mental fuel. Caffeine delays fatigue, sharpens focus, improves reaction time, and helps people stay alert during long periods of stress and sleep deprivation. That's why nearly every military in the world issues caffeine to frontline personnel. Research from the U.S. Army shows that soldiers without caffeine make significantly more mistakes under pressure. But the benefit is not only physical. A hot cup of coffee or tea during a crisis becomes a powerful psychological anchor. It creates a moment of normalcy when everything else feels unstable. And the best part is how easy they are to store. Instant coffee sealed in airtight containers can last 20 to 25 years, while properly stored tea can last even longer. They are cheap, lightweight, require only hot water, and take almost no storage space. Stock them. And now, number 1. The single food item that delivers more survival value per dollar than anything else on this entire list.
Number 1. Powdered eggs. Powdered eggs take the number 1 spot because almost no other food combines complete nutrition, long shelf life, and simplicity the way this one does. A single egg is considered one of the most nutritionally complete foods on Earth. It contains all 9 essential amino acids, healthy fats, and key nutrients like choline, iron, zinc, selenium, and vitamins A, D, and B12, nutrients the human body cannot function without. Powdered eggs preserve nearly all of that nutrition through a drying process that removes moisture while keeping the nutrients intact. Properly sealed, powdered eggs can last 5 to 10 years, and many long-term storage brands report shelf lives of up to 25 years. And the storage efficiency is remarkable. 1 pound of powdered eggs equals about 40 whole eggs. In a real collapse scenario when fresh food disappears and people are surviving on rice or oats, powdered eggs become the nutritional backbone that prevents slow physical and mental decline. They mix with water, cook in minutes, and can be scrabbled, baked into bread, or added to almost any meal. For the price, the nutrition, and the shelf life, no other food delivers this much survival value. Stock it first, stock it in quantity, and don't wait.
Here is what you now know that most people around you do not. A global conflict will not announce itself with enough lead time for you to buy what you need. Supply chains collapse faster than governments admit, and store shelves empty within 72 hours of a genuine emergency. That is documented. That is proven. The 14 foods on this list are not luxury prepping for extremists. They are the baseline infrastructure that every household maintained as standard practice before the industrial food system convinced people that dependence was safety. It is not. Dependence is vulnerability. Preparation is sovereignty. You do not need to stockpile everything at once. Start with 2 items from this list this week. Add 2 more next week, and within 60 days, you will have a foundation that puts you ahead of 90% of the population. The question is not whether a disruption is coming. Disruptions always come. The question is whether you will be the person standing in a line waiting to be fed, or the person with the capacity to feed yourself, your family, and possibly your neighbors. That choice is made now, not during the crisis, now. Prepare accordingly.